Welcome to Dr. Jester Talks, and I'm gonna talk about something that I saw between the discussion between Tim Pool and Vaush on Monday, I believe, in which both of them were discussing, which also includes Ian as well, and it's about obesity, chemicals, and food in general. The reason why the humans are now very, very fat, really having an epidemic of obesity, is due to the easily available foods, easily available access to calories. That's something we haven't had, like, I think since we started being nomads. Because when we were nomads, once a region was depleted with resources, we moved on to another region in which had more resources, and we consumed until it depleted, and then we moved on. Then we became an agricultural species. We decided to settle down, and agriculture was difficult to pay off, especially up until 200 years or so ago. It began to finally pay off, but it really paid off around 100 years ago because of huge farms and the tractors and all those things have finally started to pay off, especially with the transportation, because now it became easy, for instance, for you to transport a fresh apple from one place to another in record time and still keep fresh until it reaches its destination. But that reached a point of amazing return when we discovered refrigeration. Now that apple could reach further and fresher in record time, and that made us started to make us really fat, because things became cheaper and things became more easily available for everybody else. So that's why we became fat. But one of the reasons why we are so fat is that some people seem to be exceptionally well evolved to absorb every single calorie. They are very, very efficient. Those people, including me, Boogie, and others, would have a very clear evolutionary advantage if we lived, 500 years ago, or even more so, even earlier. Obviously, there were still fat people in the Middle Ages and other regions in the world, mostly because those were rich people who had access to food, and they didn't depend on working a lot on the fields or surviving much. So they were fat. But if we were peasants and things like that, we would be skinny as fuck. But we will have a clear advantage over everybody else, because we would be very efficient at storing, consuming, and processing the calories we ingested. And that provided us a very clear advantage of everything else. So that's why today, with the clear available of calories easily accessible with the quantities we could even dream of back in those days, well, that advantage just went down the drain. But there is also a reversal, that it only started paying off for these people in the last 100 years or so. The people who eat and never get fat. I knew a girl in the UK, she's a very good friend, and she would eat even after I actually called it quits, because I got full. She was still eating, and she is still not even fat. Holy shit pickle. Today, that's a huge advantage because of how easily accessible calories are for us. Another thing that helped us get overweight is because in the past we would have to actually walk large distances if we wanted to get anywhere else. Today we can just hop into a car, a bus, a train, or an airplane, and done. We wouldn't have to actually spend so many calories to reach one destination or another. And that's a huge deal too in how we became fat. Now we are also earning money by sitting in our butts for longer periods of time as well. For instance, even kids now, their entertainment can be focused on computer, video games, and other things instead of running and doing other things. So that's another risk as to why we are getting fatter and fatter. That's one of the biggest reasons as well. Another reason is that I wanted to discuss is that chemicals are not evil per se. It depends on the quantity you consume it. It's the quantity that makes something a poison. For instance, if you drink a lot of water, I think it's called hydro something, I forgot the actual name, but you can actually get poisoned with water. No, you don't necessarily have to drown on it, but you actually lose the electrolytes in your blood and then you die. People actually die from drinking too much water. I recall one competition back over 10-15 years ago, in which they made a competition who could drink the most water, and I think a woman drank a lot, but eventually she died of water poisoning. That's actually happened. That actually can happen. It's a lot. For instance, glyphosate is actually much safer in higher quantities than actual table salt, but you won't actually drink glyphosate because it tastes absolutely hideously bad. But, like I said, quantity makes the poison. And Ian has a tendency to attack high fructose corn syrup a lot. In fact, high fructose corn syrup is in fact just sugar coming out from corn. It's a simple type of sugar. The body does not differentiate sucrose and fructose. It does not have that difference. It doesn't know the difference. That sugar could come from beets, sugar cane, or even from a goddamn filthy apple. The body wouldn't know the difference. That's because of how we evolved. There's no need to differentiate. It's sugar, and our body absolutely, utterly need sugar as well, because for us the sugar is a quick boost of energy. Think of it like you're a vehicle, like you're a car. Sugar is the neutral. When you press the button, you can, and the grease, the fat, the oil, which our body craves too, which is why we love fried food, is the gas or the diesel, or I don't know, it depends on whatever fuel your vehicle is running. It's what we use as a long-term energy or long-term fuel. But that's what, for instance, you use your vehicle, you're running, you need to refuel your gasoline, think of it as the fat. And if you want to go fast and your car is equipped, you press the nitro button for it to inject the nitro boost, and your car will go faster. The same thing, you consume sugar and that will make you go faster. That's why a combination of, for instance, of sugar and meat or things like fat in the breakfast is the most efficient. That's what a study was done in the UK, in which they used both systems. They differentiated and showed that somebody just consuming grease or fat was more lethargic during the day, but somebody consuming only sugar was really fast, but then it would its mental capability would die down during the day. It's interesting how our bodies function, and that's why attacking high fructose corn syrup is it's stupid, because it's a cheaper method to produce sugar that we need in certain foods. Obviously, certain foods actually use a lot, but we have a tendency to also have vices. Some people have vices in consuming food, certain types of food, etc. That's what also makes them fat. For instance, I absolutely love soda, and that also has high fructose corn syrup, HFCS. And it's difficult for you to fight that vice. It's pretty much like crack or alcohol, coffee, or things like that. It happens. It's that people get their vices on things like that. It's normal. It happens. People love bread. For instance, people going on keto, sometimes some people manage to stick on it, others cannot because they absolutely love the carbohydrates, which is the bread. It's normal, and high fructose corn syrup is not evil. It's a cheaper way to make sugar to put on our food, and there's nothing evil about it. It depends on the quantity. If you consume a lot of it, obviously it's going to harm you. The same way, like I said, water is going to harm you. There's absolutely no need to fear or be against it. It's pretty much the same thing with monosodium glutamate or MSG. It's the same thing. In fact, you can actually put a bit more of that, cut down your salt, and you get a very tasty food with less salt, with no harm done to you. It's in fact a more healthier approach to food. It's the only advantage we see today is, for instance, if you had a gastric bypass like I have, to actually shorten your body, you still get to consume all those calories. Obviously not the same quantity, but you still get to consume all those calories without your body being too efficient at processing it. The only disadvantage we'll have today is if there is an apocalypse or a zombie apocalypse or something like that, in which food will become scarce, and then I'll get fucked in the butt because of the surgery, because then my body won't be able to be as efficient at storing calories. But I don't see that actually happening, especially now, because I had money on a zombie apocalypse before the French actually develop Sorry, that was a fart. No, I prefer to admit it was a fart instead of a burp. It's actually... I never expected the French to develop a backbone. I didn't. I expected a zombie apocalypse first than that, but still. As you can see, our obesity is not due to the evil chemicals and things like that. It's the quantity, it's the access, it's our mental fortitude as well. It's a combination of factors that makes us fat. And mostly because most of us evolved to actually try to survive with low calories, with low access to food and other things like that. It's how we evolved. For instance, we evolved, at least Europeans, to consume milk because of the dirty water. And milk not only gave us the protein, gave us the energy to keep on going, it also gave us access to liquid that did not essentially kill us by consuming it. The same way Europeans developed the ability to process alcohol much more efficiently than those from Asian backgrounds. And this is another evidence of evolution. How many generations will it take for us to be less efficient at processing and storing calories? I don't know. Maybe 3? Maybe 5? 10? 20 generations? I don't know. I think we need to take a look at parallel at the evolution of alcohol processing and lactose to actually see how long it will take, plus our ability to actually not die as often as we did back in the day, and see how long it will take. Probably a bit longer than those who developed lactose tolerance and alcohol processing efficiency back in the day, because back then, if you didn't actually have that ability to process lactose or alcohol, you pretty much have a tendency to die a lot faster than those who did have that ability. Today, with your ability to actually store, for instance, like me, to ability to have the ability to process and store calories much more efficiently, doesn't actually lead to death that early anymore because of modern medicine and the ability to do gastric bypass and other things. So you have a tendency to pass on your genes, which I want to pass on. So in comparison to somebody back then, which would have led to death, and the evolution would be faster. So there's probably that, which will take a bit longer. Anyway, that's what I wanted to discuss in regards to what I watched in the discussion between Team Pool and Vaush and Ian, back in the video in the discussion they had at the beginning of the week. So thank you for watching. If you want to share more of your thoughts about this, please write in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you want to see me and more of me, because you obviously want to. Who wouldn't? I want to see more of myself too. Look at this. Isn't it too being worth it? Look, I'm a sexy beast. Ha! Anyway, thank you for watching. See you on my next video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I think I already said that. Anyway, good night.